Hello everybody, I am Oscar and this is going to be a rant about Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. Now, I love Game of Thrones, lovely show, really enjoy it. I was getting really excited on Sunday, next episode out tomorrow, and after having watched it I felt disappointed. I wasn't quite sure what it was. There were quite a few illogical things in that episode that I thought were probably what the disappointment came from. But it wasn't until yesterday evening, it's Thursday, so Wednesday evening, that I realised it was the lack of tension. There was a lot of action, yes, but no real tension in there, which I think was the main disappointment. I'm not going to go into the Sansa and Arya bit, even though actually here, that is possibly what I enjoyed most, because after them being separated for so long, they've both lost half their family, the other half is somewhere not reachable, but actually only John left. But anyway, finally they're together and they're sort of bickering, and I'm going, oh you stupid girls, can't you see it's Littlefinger's manipulating you? So that sort of brings up emotions and was worth more than the actual rest, where most people say, well, that's the main plot. So anyway, I'm not going to go into Arya and Sansa right now. One thing is, well, obviously Jon Snow has this plan that we have to unite, and to convince Cersei to do that, I'm going to plonk an undead in front of her so that she then will join up with us, and then we can sort out the who gets the throne question afterwards. Now that seems like a relatively good idea. Obviously both sides would start planning for what do we do when we're not allies, while they're still allies, yes. But if you think about it, Cersei was utterly unimpressed by the fact that an entire regiment, company, whatever, of her soldiers was just going to be burnt to bits by the dragons. All she's interested in is holding her power for as long as she can. I don't think that any amount of dead people plonked in front of her, and you can say, yeah, see, I can chop the arm off, it still carries on, I can tear its jaw off, it's still going to try and bite you, you know. You could convince her that they're real, but it's questionable if she's still going to say, all right, I'm going to ally myself with you, because it's still going to be a remote threat to her. Anyway, so they got this plan. And I was assuming that dragons, being reptiles, cannot move very well in the north. It's too cold, right? They freeze up. So I thought that's why they're not going there in the first place. Later on, of course, we see the dragons swoop in. They've got no problem there whatsoever. So why? Why did they not just simply take the dragons in the first place? Now, Tyrion does say the most important person can't go to the most dangerous place. Yes. But if the White Walkers don't know that Daenerys is coming, it's not necessarily that dangerous. So she could have swooped in with her 3 dragons, found some undead. The dragons could have grabbed some dead people with their claws and dropped them into some cage without actually endangering anyone. That would have been a much better way of capturing the dead, I suppose. But instead they send out the Snow Squad, utterly not equipped. They're wearing jackets and they've got their weapons, yes. Not one of them has got a hat or a helmet. They don't have helmets anyway, but they're going out where it's supposedly cold, right? And they've all got their hair open and flying. Well, those that have hair, so Jordan's going a bit, not quite bored, but you can see through there. And, you know, people in the real world, in places that are not half as cold as that's supposed to be, like to wear hats to keep their heads warm. Not this lot, they don't need that, they're tough, you know, they're tough, yeah. So they go off, oh yeah, and they don't even have anything to eat with them. One of them's got a flask of alcohol, that's their equipment, yes. What I was going to get at, something that's been bugging me for a long time, but it's not worth making a video just about that one topic, is they keep talking about how cold it is. I mean, they mentioned 2 or 3 times, oh, I'm not going to freeze to death here. What do you do to stop yourself freezing to death? They're not cold. It's not cold where they are. You cannot see their breath. It's something, I know it's a small thing, But considering all the computer animation they put into this show, if they're not putting their actors in a place where it's cold and you can see the breath, you know, sorry, you might be living on a tropical island and have been there all your life, you don't know this. It doesn't have to be below freezing. Something, I don't know the exact temperature, but 10 degrees or so Celsius outside, you go, you can see your breath. It's the water, the moisture in your breath that is freezing in the air. You can see that. Not in this show, right? It's supposed to be cold. There's snow all over the place. Redbeard has snow in his beard, on their clothes. The snow settles, yes, but you can't see their breath because it's not cold. Another thing, while on the topic of cold, is Daenerys has been flying on her dragons for quite a while, mostly in warm places. But even there, we have a realistic thing historically that we can look at. The pilots of World War One, sitting there in their aeroplanes that were open, you know. Do you know why they had these thick leather jackets with these huge woolen collars and scarves and hats and goggles and things? Because it's bloody cold up there. So sitting on the back of a dragon, even if you're in warmer climates, it's going to get cold. She flies off into the north, so she puts a jacket on. Yes! Oh, as I said, that's just a side thing. That's not really what I wanted to get at, but pointed out, it's supposed to be cold, you should see their breath. It's so cold that one of them actually freezes to death overnight. I mean, you might say, oh no, he succumbed to his wounds. But I think it's also the fact that he's lying there all alone on this cold stone that helped him die. The one possibly major character, it's hard to find a major character in this show, who actually dies, which is why I felt a lack of tension. We have this situation where you know, this guy is nearly killed. I think it was him, also Joe, and someone's overcome, and the Hound is just watching because he's too afraid to do something. But hey, they all get out. Jon dies at least twice, I think, in this episode, but he doesn't die. No, the nice thing about Game of Thrones is not just Sean Bean, who you think dies in every film, but not every film. There are one or two things, Sharp and National Treasure, I do believe he only gets arrested. No, it's not just those people you expect to die, people that you think, oh, well, they're going to live, and suddenly they die. Main characters are not immune to death, but they have become now, sort of towards the end. Main characters can't die anymore. Is that it? It's a pity because it takes away a lot of fun. I know it's not nice to watch your hero die somehow, but it takes away some of the fun of the show, I find. Once again, that is not really what I wanted to talk about. So we've got the Snow Squad stomping off, we're going to find the next best dead and find him. They're walking for what seems quite a while. At no point does Jon look at his watch, oh, we've been walking for 2.5 hours, should we make a rest? So we don't know exactly how long they've been walking around, but you get the impression that they've been underway for a day or two at least. They have this encounter with the, should we say, zombie bear, which is very enjoyable. Here there is actually some tension. You can just about see this shape. It's hard to make out, I found at least. And okay, yeah, it looks like a bear. And then it comes towards it, and it's got this glowing blue eye. So, wow, yes, there was some tension there. Well done. And here, I'm not sure if it's a plot fault, but think about this. The bear is apparently one that's been risen from the dead, just like we see all these people. Now, why? Why? Obviously you say, well, it's a dangerous animal, it can fight, yes, but think about it. If the bear has been raised from the dead, why don't we have all animals raised from the dead? Now you might say, well, obviously because the bear is big, dangerous and fierce, it can do damage. A rabbit, you want to raise rabbits from the dead, and moles, what damage can they do? Well, not much. But the White Walkers do not go around saying, oh, you're strong, I'm going to raise you. You're strong, no, you're too puny, I'll leave you. Because what is the very first moving dead we see in this show? I mean, talking about very first episode, a girl. What's she? 8 years old. Is the very first dead we see. She is dead, so she's not going to grow to a stronger person. Yet the White Walkers apparently saw it for a good idea to raise her. So they should be raising absolutely everything that's alive. We should have undead hawks swooping down, kamikaze hawks swooping down on the night watch because they can do it. But no, they don't. So why only the bear? Irrelevant. I enjoyed that bit. That was good. They plough on and they finally find a, fortunately, little company of dead people led by a white walker, which isn't a necessity because I think we've seen quite a few groups of dead people without white walkers leading them. Anyway, so they see, I think it's about 10 of them, and they ambush them, or so you think, because they do the most idiotic thing that, no, sorry, the most idiotic thing would be to place the whole lot of them somewhere in the plain sight of these dead people, so dead people say, oh look, there are humans there, let's go and fight them, let's call it reinforcements, things like that. That would have been the most stupid thing they could do, but they do the second most stupid thing. They come charging down a hill, screaming their heads off, warning the dead that they're coming. An ambush means that you hit your enemy before he is aware of you. Now you might say, oh, well, they hit them straight away. No, no. If you've got, let's say, 5 people and you're ambushing a group of 8 people, they're more than you. And what you do is you want to seriously kill 3, 4, 5 of them before the remaining 5, 4, 3 are aware of you. The first ones to be killed don't have a chance to strike back at you or even defend themselves. That's the whole idea of an ambush, that you take out numbers. You do not come screaming at them, warning that you're coming, giving them time to react, giving them time to get their weapons out, for instance. Not that these dead actually have many weapons. Anyway, so they pathetically ambush this group, and Jon Snow mistakenly kills the White Walker. Well, I think he does it deliberately, but anyway, great revelation here that the moment the White Walker splinters to pieces, the dead following him crumble. Now, conveniently, one doesn't. That's very disappointing. It's annoying. That was really annoying. You see, it would be, well, it's just too convenient. It would be more plausible if either all the dead had disintegrated like that, and then they would have said, oh, damn, well, we can't take anyone captive now, but we've got an important piece of information. We can still go out and get another one, but hey, let's kill the leaders and that disintegrates the rest. Wow, that is really worth knowing. So they've got an important piece of information. If, however, not all of the dead crumble to pieces, it would be more convincing if 2 or 3 of them are still there. They then chop 2 to pieces and take the third one captive. Just think about it. How reasonable is that? That there's someone walking around, he's got people following him who he has resurrected. Oh, except for this one guy, he came from somewhere else. If you've got people joining you from somewhere else, it would be more than just one, I would say. If a teacher goes on an outing with his class, he's got his pupils with him. How likely is it he's got one pupil that isn't his? You know, I mean, yes, it can happen because something happened and that pupil had to go with that group for some reason, but it's unlikely. Either all his following are his following, or part of them are not, and then part of them that are not should be more than just one. It's just too convenient to be likeable. That's what I don't like about it. Anyway, so this dead one calls for help, so they tie him up and they put a sack over his head. What for? I mean, if you put a sack, don't suffocate yourself, okay, but take not a plastic bag, a cloth bag that you might use for shopping, put it over your head. You will find that you can probably still see pretty well because the cloth isn't too thick, I suppose. But that is the reason you put a sack over someone's head, so they cannot see. You don't stop them hearing and you don't stop them talking that way. Put the sack over your head. You can shout your head off, it still works. Why are they putting a sack over his head so you can't bite them, I suppose? That would be another idea. But they also do this thing that really annoys me. You get it in nearly every film and computer game these days. When someone gets tied up, hands in front, right? So if I've got a bag over my head, what good is that going to do? I can remove it easily. As I said, you also have this in Skyrim, for instance, at the very beginning. Not Alfred, what's he called? Ulfric Stormcloak is gagged, right, so that he cannot use the Thuum. He's got his hands right here. All he has to do is pull that down. It's nothing specific to this show. Apparently these days everyone always gets tied with their hands in front of their body so that they can still use their hands. You know, just like Jaime Lannister has his hands tied in front of his body when he draws Brienne's spare sword and attacks her with it. That is why you tie your cactus hands behind their backs. Anyway, so they capture this dead person, put a sack over his head for no apparent reason, drag him off, and they send Gendry off in a different direction to get help. I don't know why they're not all running in the same direction to get to safety, but anyway, Gendry goes off in a different direction. Now, you might recall I said it seemed to take a while for them to get there, and you might also recall Gendry said, "Oh, I've never even seen snow before." It is wrong. Some people, a lot of people, I do believe, think that if you run in extremely cold weather, that you damage your lungs so much that you die. That is not true. You can easily get sick from it. That is something that affects you later. When running, your body keeps you warm. Yes, it's going to hurt because ideally you breathe in through your nose. Your nose is there mostly to warm up the air before it goes in. If you're breathing in through your mouth, it doesn't get warmed up so much. It can hurt your throat, it can hurt your lungs, but you can keep going. How long was Gendry running for? I'm going to get to that later on though. The remaining snow squad runs off over the ice of this lake. Compliment here that no one slips on the ice. That's okay though. It's not as if I'm saying that's a mistake, they should have slipped. But I was thinking, well, they're running over this ice and no one's slipping. Well done. They probably got really good boots. No hats, but good boots. And they're about to be caught by the undead, and then the ice breaks. I've forgotten if it was because of the hound using the hammer on it, but the ice breaks and it was sort of obvious, oh right, okay, the ice is now going to break so that the undead cannot get at the living. So we have this unrealistic thing. There's this rock island in the middle of this frozen ice with the snow squad on it. There's a ring of broken ice around it, which, why does ice break like that in films? And thousands of bodies falling into it before they decide to stop. Which is partly realistic because they'd have people, well, dead people behind them pressing them on, but apparently the ones in the second rank who've just seen the first rank fall in don't pay any attention and just going forward anyway. At some point they stop. Very nice here when we see this from above, that is not a perfect ring. I like that because obviously it's going to be computer animated. I suppose those aren't all real acts we see there, but they didn't just simply make a ring and put people in a ring. It's very ragged and that makes it look realistic. Anyway, so we've got the survivors on this rock and they've now got to wait until, well, whatever they're waiting for. I think John does actually say that Daenerys is their only hope and that a raven's already on the way. First of all, we live through the night and this is where the priest dies, probably freezing to death, as I said beforehand. In the morning, the hound gets a bit pissed off with one of the dead who's making noises and he throws a stone, an incredible, actually unrealistic throw, the distance, hitting the skull so hard that the jaw actually falls off. Now you might say, well, that guy was very heavily decomposed, sorry, so it wouldn't have taken much for his jawbone to fall off. Now later on though, you do see that this, I believe, is the one that the hound first hits with a hammer, knocking him aside, and then short after that, this dead guy gets up again with just part of his skull missing. So he is tough, he can take quite a beating. Just a weak throw with a stone shouldn't make his jaw fall off. And I said it's an extremely long distance. I doubt that the actor could really throw a stone that far, and by the time the stone was there, its force should have been spent anyway. Irrelevant, he hits him, and I think the undead is still making sound, so he takes a larger stone, throws it, and that is a realistic throw. It goes about halfway, hits the ground, bounces a bit, and then slivers. And I think we all, or at least most of us, already saw coming when he threw the first stone Now, what's going to happen is there's going to be a stone that lands on the ice, and the dead are going to figure out that, this ice is hard, we can walk over it. I'm no expert on physics, but I'm pretty convinced if it's as cold as they claim it is supposed to be, the ice would have frozen up again within 2 hours, 3 hours. They were waiting for a whole day, right? It was daytime when they get to the rocks, then they have the night, and it's way past morning when the hound starts throwing stones. Or actually he throws 2 stones, and you've got this dead guy who looks, you can see him thinking, and then he walks forward slowly. And you've got 1 or 2 who follow. And it takes ages for the rest of the dead to figure out, oh, we can walk over the ice now. Now all the time, we've got these white walkers, or little big blue walkers to me, standing on a ledge further up, watching. And do they control the dead, yes or no? Because they appear to be thinking creatures. If they are thinking creatures, they should have figured out long before the hound started throwing anything that the ice has frozen up again and they can go in and kill the living. But no, they're just standing there. Now let's quickly think about this. As said, they're probably thinking creatures, and they stand there a full day doing nothing. They're doing nothing at all. They don't even look at each other, talk to each other. They've got no social interaction, no social life, no... What do they do all day? Why on earth would you want to go and conquer the world if you don't do anything all day? What is the point? Hey, yes, I can control these people and then they do nothing while I do nothing. That's fun. I don't understand the logic behind the White Walkers, and if you know it, I'm not interested, thank you. It's irrelevant. It's just something that popped up, you know. Where's the sense in this? They must be doing something. Anyway, so they're just watching, right? And then finally the dead close in, conveniently not all come in at once, even when we have a huge rush. It's the usual thing that you have in films, something that Game of Thrones has up to now not been too guilty of. Best example here is always Peter Jackson's first film of Lord of the Rings, when Aragorn is surrounded by a semicircle of orcs. You can see that the stuntmen are always waiting until it's their turn before they attack him one at a time. No, we've got the Snow Squad being assaulted, not from all directions, because there's one cliff edge to their island that seems to be protected due to its height, but the undead come as few as possible so that the actors can deal with everyone separately. We've got 2 people who are unnamed, or at least I didn't recognise them, and they die! Yes, they're the Star Trek red shirts that can die at this moment because they're unimportant, yes. One of them, I do believe, actually gets overwhelmed. The dead people just jump over on him. And we saw in the Battle of the Bastards that Jon Snow gets run over by a stampede of men. This is very nice and realistic. It's irrelevant how good you are. If there's a rush of people coming, they can knock you over. There's nothing you can do. Why do the dead not do this to Jon? There is one... I can't remember if it was Eye Patch Guy or Redbeard, and the Hound is just watching. He's too terrified to help, and finally they get out. I think Sir Jorah comes in to save someone, but the dead should just simply rush them, and they would have all been dead. The living would have been dead. The dead were dead anyway. What I also find unlogical is, why do some of the dead rush forward to free the captive? You know, it's not as if we know that they want to take him, and none of us, just this one here, to the Queen so that they're going to have a chance of defeating us. Because if they manage to free that one dead, well then they have to capture another. There's nothing special about this captive, except that he's captive. It would make more sense to concentrate on killing the living than trying to free someone who's unimportant, actually unimportant to both sides. I mean, he's important to Jon, yes, but it's not as if that one specifically is more important than others. Anyway, that's what the script writers made of it. And as I said beforehand, we've had Gendry who ran off, and a lot of people will have already said, yeah, it doesn't make sense that Gendry runs then a raven is sent from Eastwatch to Dragonstone, I think it's called, where Daenerys then gets on a dragon and flies over in one day. I mean, if it took, let's say, 2 days for them to get from Eastwatch to where they are, Gendry cannot run for 2 days, even if he's a good runner. He would be accustomed to running in weather more pleasable to him, should we put it like that, and he can run for 2 hours at an end, perhaps. He gets there, very conveniently he drops down exhausted right in front of the gate. Another thing here, the gate, there's the wall, what is it, 800 feet tall, and the people watching are at the top there. Now it's literally the second after he drops down that the gate opens up, and Onion Knight and 3 other helpers come rushing out with torches. Also here, why are there lit torches in the tunnel directly in front of the gate? There are 2 torches. I mean, obviously, yes, so you can see, but do they keep torches burning 24 hours a day in case someone has to come rushing out who's got a torch with him anyway? What use are those torches in the snow? Pretty good torches that they're not extinguished in any way. Irrelevant. Sir Davos is his name. Comes up, finds Gendry. Gendry is still alive enough to say his sentence. And the Onion Knight then sort of looks up. Okay, he's crouching. He looks up. He doesn't look at the camera. He looks about there. His helpers are here. And he shouts, "Send a raven!" Who's he talking to? And, you know, the helpers that are here, not there, the wall's back there, right? The helpers heard it anyway, they're supposed to send a raven, so who is he talking to? But why is he there anyway? Because as I just said, 800 feet or whatever wall, now someone up there, spotting Gendry, wouldn't have been able to see him that far off, and it would take him much longer to say, "Oi, someone go out, there's someone coming." They got there a bit too fast. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. They save him. He's delivered his message. This raven then zaps over to Dragon whatever. Daenerys, first of all, has a little council meeting privately with Tyrion, and he says, "Don't go." And she says, "Well, last time you told me not to do anything, I regret it, so I'm doing it." And she flies off. Now, yes, dragons can fly very fast. I accept that. All the same, where's she flying to? Why does she know where she's flying to? The north! The north is bloody big. They've said that often enough. Now, coming back to World War I planes again, here, with the introduction of aeroplanes, something new popped up. Archaeology found that you can see things from above. It's very useful, yes. But the average pilot sitting in a plane like that might be able to see what's directly underneath him. He will not be able to see an army that is 5 miles off. So dragons flying around there will not be able to see the army that they're looking for if they're not extremely close. So how does she know how to find Jon? Obviously, yes, being though they're relatives, she can smell his blood, or the dragons can. I don't care what the explanation. A lot of people would have already said, or while watching, thought, yeah, this is all going too fast, you know. It takes them 2 days or whatever to get there. Gendry runs off, raven flies, dragons fly, whoop. But once again, there's no tension. Jon's in his most desperate hour, and Daenerys comes flying in. We saw that coming. There's no fun to that. We saw that coming. I'm sorry. So a lot of us then the shock that a dragon gets killed, but guess what? We saw that coming. You see, this White Walker, after standing around, enjoying an evening of doing nothing, actually has someone pass not a spear, a javelin to him, right? And that very moment, actually when the White Walker takes the javelin out of the saddlebag, you already know, right, he is going to kill one of 3 possibilities. Jon Snow, whom he sees as a martial threat. Daenerys, whom he sees as a martial and political threat. Or a dragon, because logically he wants a dragon for himself. You know, it was so obvious the moment he takes the spear that he's going to kill one of these 3. Then he looks, he's got all 3 in one sight, and then you can see, okay, he's aiming for the flying dragon. So at that point already, it was already known that at the end, what we see, he resurrects a dead dragon. That was no surprise, because we saw it coming more than a quarter of an hour beforehand. Now, I've already pointed out that I'm unsatisfied with seeing spears going into dragons in one of the earlier episodes, but here, if the Stahlgrim spear that he's got goes through the dragon, I accept it because magic. Also, his inhuman throw that he manages to hit that target that high up, I can accept because there's something magical about the White Walkers. Dragon dies. And here I can imagine a lot of people saying, oh, Daenerys' reaction was not correct, you know. One of her dragons is dead and all she does is stare. I think that's very realistic, I like it. So I would have not liked it if she would have gone, no! Her shock, the horror in her face, absolutely realistic. Yes, we can bemoan the fact that she later on is a bit more sad about having lost Jon than her dragon. But on the whole, I think that reaction was very adequate. What on earth did I originally want to say? The timing, okay, Jenny runs, dragon flies and finds and so forth, was strange. A lot of people would have mentioned that if they've already commented on this. One thing that really annoyed me though, as said, was the lack of suspension. It's practically everything that came, we saw coming. The death of the priest was the most important person I think who died. Well, he died slowly overnight, we saw that coming. The dead person calls the army of the dead, okay, we didn't expect that 5 minutes beforehand, but it wasn't too much of a surprise. Jon is then, we can already see that he's been involved by the army and he's captured, we saw that coming. Now he's going to be rescued, we saw that coming. Again, he's going to make it in time, we saw that coming. When we started watching the episode, we did not see the death of the dragon coming. But long before it happens, we see it coming. That the dragon is later going to be resurrected. We see that coming, it's no surprise. A lot of people also have already thought by watching it, when the dead drag the dragon, well, blimey, when the dead drag the dragon out of the water, where do they get those chains from? Seriously, the army of the dead are incapable of making weapons for themselves. Half of them don't have any weapon at all, they've just got their hand going like that. Where did they get these chains from? I'm pretty sure, I'm no smith, but I'm pretty sure it'd be much easier to equip the entire army with spears than to produce those 4 chains. I'm assuming it's 4 chains, it could be one that's sort of looped, but I'm assuming they're 4 chains. So I think most people are sitting there thinking, where did they get these chains from? Another thing though is, how do they get the chains in there? Because the ice broken by the dragon's fall is still broken, and what we see is there's this square of ice that's been opened and the chains are coming out. It's not the ice broken by the dragon's fall, it's a separate, sorry, it's a rectangle, not a square, that's been broken, and there are these 4 chains coming out. So how did the dead break that piece of ice, especially white, there's a dirty great big hole beside it, how did they break that? Get the chains down, that's very easy, drop ends in, they fall down, but how did they attach it to the dragon? I mean, obviously some of the dead had to swim down to do that. And another thing is when they pull the dragon out, I'm sorry, I don't know the dragon's name. I'm not so much into the lore that I know which dragon it was, and don't care too much. I'm saying the dragon, I'm talking about he, because I don't even know of the 3 dragons, if they're all male, female, or mixed, whatever. So, they're dragging the dragon out, and it comes out, there's this piece of ice, there's the open ice here that was broken when it fell, a piece of solid ice, then there's a hole the dead made, and then normal ice. And it starts breaking this piece of ice in between. Why does the dragon then get pulled onto the ice and not just carry on breaking ice there too? Irrelevant. They drag it out. You have this suspension in the music as it zooms into the eye and it opens and it's got a blue pupil. Blue iris. Yes. I said that was no surprise. There's no tension there. And that's what really bugged me. And another thing, that is, I think, really bad, really bad about this episode is the fact that John survives. We have this bit, everyone's on the dragon except for John, and he's an idiot. I mean, yes, there's one dead that comes at him that he has to quickly kill, but instead of retreating to the dragon to get on, he marches further into the army of the dead to get himself killed. Well deserved. He deserved to die for that. Another thing is, I'm pretty sure, because John's the first one who could have climbed onto the dragon. He reaches up his hand, Daenerys her hand down. We see that shot from further away, and there's about 3 meters between her height and where he's standing. There's no way he could have taken her hand anyway. It's irrelevant. Everyone else gets on there, they plop the dead onto one of the dragon's spikes, like that. The dead probably didn't, but he doesn't have feelings, so we don't care. John is then overwhelmed by the dead. Oh, another thing, beforehand, when the undead king throws his javelin, the dead army conveniently stop attacking so that everyone can watch. John's standing there horrified, and then he looks at the king, and it's not until everyone's finished watching that the dead start attacking again. Which, if they're unthinking creatures, why should they have paused their attacks? Because the filmmakers think it's more dramatic, I suppose. Or they want you to see the drama in John's face, whatever. John is dragged into the water. And here, once again, not just a knife, but also because it's far too convenient when he emerges directly beside his sword. Oh, well done. I mean, it would have been really annoying if he emerged somewhere else, sort of 5 meters away, and wouldn't have seen his sword. No, he emerges right in front of it. He then gets up and he staggers a bit, and one of the dead looks at him. If he had carried on staggering like that, I think he should have got away with it. That the dead would have thought, oh, it's one of us. Then again, it could be because they are created by magic, that they go, hang on, there's no magic coming from him, he's alive. Or they can smell, he's fresh, yuck. Something like that. Anyway, they don't need to bother killing him. He's just come out of freezing cold water into the freezing cold air, which is so cold that you can't even see the breath, but he should be dead anyway. He should freeze to death within a few minutes. But no, conveniently, and for no apparent reason, his Uncle Benji comes riding in to save him. Now, it would have been just about acceptable if he just comes riding in and saves him, but no! He gets off his horse, here, get on my horse, ride off, I'm going to needlessly sacrifice myself. Now, this is particularly annoying because Uncle Benji is supposedly such a tough ranger, a survivor, yes. I'm not talking about that as a survivor he should not sacrifice himself for his favourite nephew. What I'm talking about is John should be dripping wet or frozen up, and if he puts him on the horse to ride off all by himself, he should know that that boy is going to be dead within a few minutes. The horse can carry both of them. Some people might say, oh no, the poor horse can't carry both. The horse can carry both of them, not as fast as one person, but could carry both of them, and the least that Benji could do is be warming John while they're riding, and not riding off alone in the freezing air to needlessly sacrifice himself. That was disgusting. Sorry, that was just, Anyway, John survives once again, drops over, no, I think he doesn't drop off the horse, but people see him. Oh no, Daenerys sees him, yes, of all people, Daenerys sees him coming. He's then in bed, and nice here that she finally gets to see his scars that Davos had actually hinted at, and she thought, oh, it's probably some metaphor, and oh, they are real. Now, there are 2 things about these scars I deeply dislike. Point 1, when he's stripped and he's still supposedly cold, the scars have edges like this. Now, they're supposed to be a few months old, they're not fresh wounds, they would be sealed. Yes, they would be visible, they'd have a different colour to the rest of the skin, but they would not have edges like that. I'm not talking about edges with a scar in between, okay? They wouldn't have that shape, end, and they were supposedly stab wounds. Yet the one he's got on his chest is not exactly S-shaped, but he's got a huge curve here. You don't get that from a stab wound. No, sorry, it doesn't make sense. But irrelevant, he's got scars, she sees that, and that's good. I also don't like the fact that he suddenly calls her Danny. I thought he said darling first time. I thought, whoa! But apparently he says Danny, I think, and she says, oh, I've not been called that in a long time. It's my brother, you know, it's blood relation of mine who last called me that. So a little hint that stop hitting on her, she's your aunt, I do believe, or cousin. I think aunt, though. Yes, that's basically what I wanted to say. A lot of things in this episode really bugged me. I felt disappointed after having watched it, but that doesn't mean I unlike the show. I think that there's so many situations that John gets out of that weren't necessary. He could have just simply got onto the dragon and been cold for some other reason, and then they would have been able to show his scars to Daenerys because of that. But not having dragged underwater, you know, the dead are clinging to him. How does he escape from them without drowning? How does he get out? How does he not freeze to death? Why does he conveniently find his horse? Why does his uncle conveniently come running in and say, hey, take my horse, I'm going to go sacrifice myself? Oh, and he conveniently manages to get home. Right. I think I've said everything I should say to that. Thank you very much for bringing up the patience to watch me this far. Very amazing, because this was not a short rant as I had originally intended. I might actually at some point bring out some videos where I talk about things in Game of Thrones like lacking breath that you should see, that should be there. Might say a few things about battles where I think, that's that. And also possibly I should put out 1 or 2 videos where I say this is what I really like. Once again, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave reasonable comments down below if you feel like you want to contribute in any way. Give me a like if you liked it. You must have, otherwise you wouldn't have stayed this long. Bye! Oh, and another thing, why didn't the White Walkers take out the Snow Squad with those javelins instead of waiting through the night doing nothing?